Okay, I'll call this ASB meeting to order at 10:05. Are there any additions to the agenda? Just one small correction in the delegations. Our delegation will be here at 11:30, not 11:40. There's nothing else, Larry? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes from the September 25th meeting. Ernie?
As presented, please.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Our delegation, as I said, will be here at 11:30. Dr. Colin Nicholas, we'll move into reports now. The administration report on page 8 of your package. And Quentin, Farah.
Thank you. So we've done some research on wild boar and our animal control bylaw. It's taken up a bit of a time in the office, as well as strategic planning and budget prep and workshops with council. Our extension planning so far has accounted for the county fair, a working well workshop. EFP stands for Environmental Farm Plan. The farm emergency plan, a tree planting workshop, ladies livestock clinic, our provincial conference and in-service training, as well as succession planning in 2026. So we've got a good start on some of our workshops and extension projects, as well as we've got some invoicing done for Alberta Transportation and Alberta Environment for vegetation control on the highways, as well as Red Deer River. Chemical jug collection, there's a few outstanding bags here or there that have come in, but the bulk of it is at the landfill, waiting on the hired company, Curtis Construction, to come pick it up and remove.
Larry has a question.
On that, Doug, Quentin, did we find out if they could be compressed?
We haven't found out yet. I have a call in, but I haven't heard back yet.
Yeah, because you look at one of those bags and it's kind of like
They're bulky.
we're moving a bag of feathers.
Yeah, it's very bulky. And I also haven't got a total yet on what we collected last year, but the landfill is going to start weighing the trucks in 2025, so we know how much was removed next year.
Apologies, Mr. Chair. I actually was talking ratepayer.
Not good, that's fine. We've got a board member that has to leave early, so we start.
Oh, that's good. That 100% understand.
The Watha drainage ditch project was mowed, so we'll re-inspect in the spring for regrowth. I think there's a couple of spots we'll have to reseed, but it looks pretty decent, really. Hydroseeder maintenance and cleanout was ongoing. Carlisle Estate seeding, we've got the roadways all completed. We have to do the large drainage ditch between the airport and Carlisle Estates. So that'll be in the spring. Pest and nuisance inspections, so wild boar is ongoing and club root is completed. And weed inspections are ongoing. We're creating a list for 2025 for re-inspection at this point.
Do you have any results on your club root testing yet?
Had 0 visual club root this year. Very good.
Yeah.
I expected with the moisture we had to have a couple, but yeah, it was good. How many fields did we do?
It was in the last report. I think it's like 200.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so it would be all the inspections for the last 5 years, or all the like landowners of past positive fields for the past 5 years, and then 2 fields of NOLA per township otherwise.
Well, between the good management and club root resistant seed, it seems to got a handle on it. Mr. Lambert?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just on the hydro seeding, do you guys go back and do that again the next year? Does it normally get a pretty good take, or what's your experience been with that?
Normally a really good take. Yep. Depending on soil conditions, if the soil wasn't the greatest condition, it doesn't take, but that doesn't matter if you were to use a brilliant seeder or hand seed it or hydro seed it. If it's not going to take, it's not going to take. But hydro seeding, because you add that layer of mulch that contains moisture, it usually takes pretty good.
Good, thank you.
So some other projects we're working on is parade float preparation for next year, and attendance of the Regional Ag Service Board Conference, which was October 17. And after our delegation, there's a video here. If time allows, we'll show you the link. If not, we'll watch it on our own time. But it's a really good video the South counties have put together regarding soil erosion.
Roughly how long is that video?
About 15 minutes.
Your Wilder Well workshop in Redville will have a good turnout?
We had 21 attendees, and about half were from the lake area. It was a really good turnout and a lot of good questions.
That was a good turnout.
It's not an African wasp.
I know, but it's really big on the screen.
It's a little better than an inch in person.
Well, here.
It looks like it could spear you pretty good, but
This wasp actually, it's a banded horntail. It actually burrows through wood.
Really? So you're not safe in your home, Suzanne?
Some of the seeding from the first round in Carlisle Estates on reinspection, you can still see some mulch. Yeah, where the mouse is there, the spot where it's kind of gray or tanned looking, that's actual mulch sitting there. So there's still grass coming through that. That's what it looks like within a half an hour after it's done.
Question, Quentin.
Oh, sorry, Arnie, go ahead.
Okay, with the mulch, do you do the hydro seeding and then the mulch application afterward, or is it all incorporated together?
It's all incorporated together. You mix the mulch with the grass seed in your tank of water, and then the pump sprays it all out as one recipe.
Okay, thank you.
it's not on what the videos are here right now, but on your report, Quentin, it showed billing for Alberta Transportation. Have we, the topic come up in this meeting yesterday was weeds on orphan well sites. Have we had any calls at all on that, or?
To go do control work?
Yeah.
No. We've had a few companies come in saying they're going to do work, but no one has asked us to do control work for them.
Because a lot of municipalities have, farmers, I guess, have phoned in to the orphan well fund and nothing is done. So it was looked at, there was a presentation on that. So we need to keep ahead of it in our area if we have anybody calling and to get it into that provincial jurisdiction.
We'll treat it a lot like a private land inspection
On,
or a private land request for spraying. We'll treat it the same way or it gets high priority.
Farrell?
The Alberta Energy Regulators are coming to ASB Provincial Conference, so we can discuss that then. And I believe there's a resolution from a different region proposed. I don't know if it's gone through at the regional conference, but
and actually this series of meetings on the mature asset, Doug McCauley was there and presented it too. So they did bring Doug in, but it's kind of typical of some of these things where there's nobody listening on the other end.
So
James?
just my question on that, who would you send the weed notice to? Is it the Alberta government in this case? Because we do that quite regularly with the transportation. So, I mean, that's, who's running that, who has possession of the asset is the Alberta government. Am I?
The Alberta government, and that's part of the issue. And with who do you get a hold of? It's the AER. Everybody was kind of passing the buck on it, but it still come down to the fact that nobody was funding for weed spraying, which the importance of weeds were very much enforced at this meeting. So it's just, if we do in our area have it, we will find somebody to be getting in touch with, and whether or even RMA.
Well, and I think that's also important that we tell our ratepayers that this is, that, I mean, a lot of them, they keep phoning the current name on the front of the well site, which has long been defunct. So what do? You're not getting your check, you're not getting any reactions. So that's good information.
Surface rights, everybody was sitting at this meeting, so they're all fully engaged. Some are more engaged than others on it. The givers are a bit more engaged than the receivers, I think.
You send them a weed notice on this one?
Should be one of our transfer sites.
I know that. I actually might know where that is.
Is one of our transfer sites.
How's that coming?
Weed control? We did one full round and we got a couple of sites done twice. So we're getting there. It doesn't look like that now. That was a earlier picture. I should have had an after picture with it.
So in that case, when there's only, looks like one plant in the electronic bin, you just pull that one or you just spray it?
They were already there for other things at the transfer site. This is just one of the pictures. I think if Andrew scrolls either way, there's more from, yeah.
Okay. That was determined.
They are determined.
They will grow.
There, we just got an email yesterday, so that was a passerby about a month ago spotted this tall grass-looking specimen and identified it as Phragmites and asked us to get it checked out. So we took a sample, sent it to CDC North, and it came back yesterday as a native species of Phragmites.
What?
Phragmites. So the
Sounds like you sneezed.
it's a lot like smooth brome as far as top growth, a lot of seeds on one stalk, but the way it spreads is through the root system. There's a lot of fibers that can break off and create a new plant, and native Phragmites gets to be 4 or 5 feet tall, and that's it. The invasive Phragmites can get to be 12 or 14 feet tall and spread like wildfire. Newell County has a pretty good sized problem they're handling along whatever rail track goes through Brooks. I think it's CP.
Is it edible? Like, I mean, will animals eat it or what? You know, I mean, it looks like, on first look to me, it looks like brome.
Yeah, it's a non-palatable type grass, if you want to call it a grass. It's not actually grass, but it's not palatable.
If they're eating, if they're eating it, they're probably hungry.
That's right.
They will eat it.
There's a aerial shot of the shock pit last week or 2 weeks ago, I guess.
So there's not much of a stockpile there.
The crushers are headed in. I don't remember. Chris, do you remember this week or next week? I don't remember when they're headed there. Soon. So we took some pictures before they got there, and then as they crush, we'll take a bunch as they're moving aggregate around, and then when they're done, we get another picture to kind of show what it looks like after.
Where there's that little island of a brush pile, it's on a steep hill. So on the right side. Yeah, that's all on a hill.
I thought she was done.
They were in the college bed, then they're going to Red Deer, then they're going to Trout.
Yeah.
And whenever they get there, they were in the college bed longer than I thought.
And just some sites that have been controlled for brush. So this is our leafy spurge site down southwest of Big Valley. You can see our tracks from our side by side. That's a not quite 15-acre patch that was found.
Quentin,
I believe, sorry,
there is your leafy spurge all the way down to the river from that one year where it just
no, it looks like it goes down the bank about,
isn't getting in the water.
no, the water is like 400 yards away. It looks like it's right there, but that bank drops down and then it's a long flat before the water.
Because that water is quite a seeding thing for that.
Yeah, the leafy spurge is about 20 feet over the bank right now.
But
What do you do with
want
this?
The water, close to the water's edge.
We're near the water's edge.
Thank you.
There's a couple of options. So we did herbicide option this year. We used Navius Flex on it. And then we are applying for a biocontrol bug to put on this area for the next foreseeable future. There's a bug designed to eat leafy spurge. And we're going to start it on the bank side and move it to the east.
When it runs out of leafy spurge, what does it eat?
It dies.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
There's a couple of plants. We've checked with the herbicide company because there's a few plants there that still look quite green. And this is October, so 3 months after application, some of the plants look quite green, but we were reassured the way this herbicide works is it's very slow to kill the plant, to get down in the root and do a good job. So in the spring, we'll know.
How do you disperse these bugs?
I don't know. It's the first time for us. We'll find out. I assume it's like an envelope or a bag of some sort that you just.
You give it to a counselor and he goes out there and shakes it out with like a pepper. Throw it in the wind.
Larry?
There was supposed to be some of those for scentless chamomile too. Have you ever tried that?
We have not. There's a different bug for scentless chamomile. You're right. We haven't tried it for that. It's not cheap. It's not expensive. It's cheaper than using herbicide. Theoretically, lasts longer than using herbicide. But you're very dependent on weather conditions for the bug to survive. So we're going to try it for leafy spurge, and if it works, then we'll try a few others. If we've got, you need a certain size of a weed population before you're accepted as an application for a bug. So you can't just do it on a spot the size of this room. You need to have a bigger patch.
Then Farrell.
The granular stuff, you gotta watch it. They used it down there to land on toast blocks. It's supposed to kill everything. You know, the first thing that grew after it was sterilized for 3 years. Toast blocks.
What herbicide was that?
I don't know about-
Was that the 22 Tordon 22K pellets? Was that what was used?
Farrell?
I'm good now.
You good now? Okay. Ernie?
So with the bug, once the weed is all gone, does it die off or does it?
Yeah, it just dies off. What they'll do is, as this colony of bugs is growing and eating the plants, the company you or buy the bugs from, they'll come harvest some bugs from that for another site.
The part that I'd be afraid of, say like you introduce this bug, it eats what the meal is there, and then it's got to survive, or it could become a survivalist and then start eating on something else. So hopefully we don't create another problem down the road.
We won't. We've let others take the lead on this. This is not a new thing. Bugs have been around for a lot of years, and I've let the trials happen other places before I said I want to try this.
Vera?
These leafy spurge bugs are from the 60s. So, yeah, they've been tried and tested. Yeah, so we partner with the Invasive Species Council.
So they're old hippies.
These guys are young. They're from an old hippie.
Larry?
Just eastern Canada where the temperatures aren't so severe. I know the ones for Sentinel's chamomile survive winters, eh? And the gravel pits and stuff, you'll see the odd one, but you ask a question and it's kept under control by these bugs living every year, and they have enough food to eat and they live the winter. So it would be nice if we had something that really like these weeds that we have. We'd find something for wormwood, it'd be wonderful.
So we partner with the Invasive Species Council, so they only have bugs for 4 weeds or 5, I guess. So leafy spurge, Dalmatian toadflax, knapweed, so spotted, diffuse, and Russian knapweeds. They don't have the scentless chamomile stuff, but I know they're working on common tansy stuff.
If we found one for absinthe, I'd probably hire a plane.
Yeah. The whole county.
Our water well workshop in Red Willow, a couple of pictures on the presenters and one picture, I guess. I thought I had more.
It's the metric couple, I guess.
Yeah, Red Willow was a good haul for that. It was in a good location. We wanted to attract a lot of lake residents, and that was definitely captured at that workshop, so that was good.
Yeah, it's nice to see when you get good attendance on these things.
The area counselor there.
And our only really real complaint was that we used wooden forks. Because that's all we could find.
That is a legitimate.
It's a legitimate fear. Sliver on the tongue from your fork-eating salad.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Quentin's report? If not, could I get a mover? Justin?
I'll move that we receive for information.
All those in favor? And carried. There was no board request for information. I don't think any business arising from minutes. If not, we'll go into new business. 8.1, the 2025 Ag Services Extension Goals, page 26.
So here you see our RFD for workshops and extensions type activities. We have some planned workshops on the left, and we've got some workshops on the right requiring a little more direction. And what we're looking for is feedback on what you guys see as a vision. We ask at all of our workshops what attendees would like to see in the next extension project, but I always like to get input from the board as to what you guys would feel you want to see or bring back or stop doing or more of type events. So a short list of things we've planned and things we've done.
Anybody got any further suggestions on this one, Larry?
It's just like on that farm to fork tour, is that going to, that we canceled it last year, did we not?
Correct, it was canceled last year.
So you're just wondering direction on whether we continue this year or whether it,
Now's the time to start planning it if you want it to go ahead or postpone one more year or do something completely different.
I would think with the fair, like my thought would be with the fair, maybe we try it for a couple of years and see where we go as far as producers bringing samples and stuff in. That's just a thought, but
That has some merit because you almost need another event to partner with. It isn't necessarily going to draw in a crowd all on its own.
What's that, the farm to fork?
Yeah. I mean, it was a good partnership with the Long Table Supper because you could turn it into a whole day and make an event of it. So maybe if it ended at the county fair, there would be more uptake.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a good match up there. And being that if you're tying it in with the county fair, you don't have to have a full day of tours. You can have smaller tours too, a couple instead of four, or you can be flexible, but there's lots of options, I think.
I mean, just my experience with that, when we did the tours, the bus and the people on the tours, they were really, really quite happy with how the tours went and were very energetic about coming back the next year. I think it worked well that we dropped them off at the museum at the end, and but I agree, we need to tie it in with something else if we're going to do that. But that's maybe some plans and thoughts to put towards this over the long winter season.
Okay.
We have tweaked the county fair a little bit. There's going to be informational sessions. So we're going to have a standalone booth where you can come sit in on a 15-minute talk about weeds or about landscaping or trees. I wish we actually have a list. There's 8 different,
Like a 2-day info hall. So one day would be geared towards acreage owners and one day would be geared towards farmers. So the farm one would have weeds and crop and fertilizer, and I forget the last one. And then the acreage one is gardening.
Weeds.
Weeds and weeds, yeah. And then the acreage one has gardening, trees,
So
2 more, I forget. So
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I say that a little bit facetiously, but I do think that we could have a session on weed identification for not only our acreage owners, but maybe some of our town people as well. We know that there's a ton of these seeds that come in with the multi flower seed pack that you get at a number of the sale points here in Stettler. They throw them out there and then, oh, wait a minute, I've got scentless chamomile all over my yard. How I thought that was some daisy. Yeah, it is kind of, sort of, maybe, but not really.
yeah, for sure. In the agronomy update and the gardening and horticulture workshops that are penciled in, we would have a little 20-minute blurb for both of them, tailored to farmers and tailored to gardeners for the weed.
Dave?
I think, yeah, if we're gonna have a learning thing about grass seed or whatever, that we should, the biggest thing is to, I always ask, where does it come from? If it comes from Rimby in there, I don't buy grass seed. Because of weeds. You know, you can get grass out of, my Pisano is good. Never had a problem with different weeds that you definitely don't want on your place. But it does say on the back, but some of the seed reps are not really very truthful about it, forthcoming with that information. Same with the lawns like that, seed lawn grass. It was bought at or whatever, or no, maybe the other one, but yeah, you got weeds all over it that you don't want, so then they had to spray it all out till it started over again. I think that's a little bit of, but that's our ag fieldman and our assistant ag field person. That's part of their job, if they would have one of those to educate people a bit more. Even farmers, some of them don't know what they're getting. Especially people who live in villages or towns. They see that grass seed. They never look at their bag, see what's in it. Thank you.
So are there any other ideas for extension events or workshops that you'd like Quentin and Farrah to investigate for 2025? I was wondering, would there be any flavor for a pasture management or rotation workshop? We tried those in the past.
We have, yeah. There's been some interest in that. We have had some pasture management at our ladies livestock workshop or clinic. Obviously, none of you guys can attend that. We have had them in the past and they've been well received. We can look at something.
Yeah, we're not going. So, okay, well, that's something maybe to keep on the back burner for a public one.
Also, that Richardson ground squirrel gopher control, they have just they've even gotten worse over the last year. I have a quarter that I just broke, part of the quarter and cut green feed on it. The gopher's in there. And now badger.
Moles too? Like I, for whatever reason, must be secular or whatever, but the moles have gone, I get them trapped out and then you turn around and you go back and I don't know where they're coming from. Like, I think they're just popping up like daisies.
It's just going to get worse as we keep talking at our ASB conferences and stuff about the lack of can't use strychnine now. So, that's for
Dave, go ahead.
Oh, if you want me to talk about wolves?
No, actually, I don't.
Yeah, I wonder why they have such a problem. Because my grandkids dug out some wolves, and out of that one mound, 21, and you know how many, I said, I'll give you $1 for every mole you kill. He killed the mothers, and he killed them, they were just little fellas, 21 of them. So I don't know what it is, about $22 for them. Kids mind one mouse.
Mm-hmm.
So you think maybe they're prolific like crazy. I get rid of them and you could go and get that hydrous thing and put the hydrous in there and then, you know, with a knife and that'll kill them. But sure, kill them, dead. Thank you.
Okay, any further suggestions on extensions? I think we've discussed it pretty well. If someone would care just to receive this for information. James, all those in favor? And carried. 8.2, the ASB grant reporting priorities, page 28.
So the next grant cycle is coming up. We should be getting the application in the next, what did Kelly say? The next month, I think. We'll see the application. It's a 5-year cycle, and the funding forecast right now is forecasted to be the same as it has in the last. There's some priority objectives for both legislative stream and resource management. So under legislative stream, it covers ASB Act, the Pest Act, Soil Conservation, Weed Act, Animal Health Act, outreach for legislation, and extension for economic benefit for producers. That's the legislative stream. That is the bulk of our grant money. Out of the $138,000, 123 of that is for those pieces. That's the majority. So we're looking for a couple of examples to improve awareness on invasive species, whether it's aquatic or terrestrial or vertebrate. Looking for continued weed control efforts along our right-of-ways or roadsides, gravel pits, green spaces, that sort of thing. We're looking to improve awareness around monitoring efforts for soil erosion. Increased awareness for reportable diseases and pest disease outbreaks. So we work with CFIA and the Alberta government if there are outbreaks. And then the other side is resource management, which ties into our extension projects, that what you guys used to know as ASA. So we put money in our budget, but then we apply for up to 15,000. Now that's changing. It was 15,000. Now it's going to be a base amount with the option for more money if you can show that you are doing good extension and you're adding value, then there's a chance to get more money. How much more, I have no idea. Actually, I think Mr. Stuhlberg had asked what the funding was going to be like at the regional conference, and they said it's forecasted to be the same. So whether that means the pot has not grown and now we're fighting with other municipalities to get more resource management money or not, I don't know. But we'll find out shortly, I guess.
The representative did mention that you could always, lobby for increases. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily stay the same for the full 5 years if you could demonstrate that you should have more.
So we'll apply using the last 5 years worth of resource management, our extension workshops, any kind of just demos or projects. That's how we prove the next 5 year of allotment. And then we'll keep track of that for the next 5 year. That's how it's been explained.
Justin?
Just looking into the future at some of the proposed construction work in our area. Two of the big ones are potentially solar projects and then the transmission line upgrade. So I think we should have an emphasis on monitoring weed and erosion control at those projects. Your highest risk is when you disturb all the vegetation for erosion and weeds to take over. So with those potentially in our near future, I think they should be a point of emphasis, no different than, say, a gravel pit. Once you disturb all that vegetation, you need to be careful what comes next.
James?
And I agree 100%. I think also pest control. We just talked about, you broke up that quarter and you ended up with a ton of squirrels, right? They are they like that nice, easy ground to dig through. So I think that's part of where we're going to be at as well.
So what percent of our budget is the provincial grant make up about? Say?
Yeah, 15 and 20% operationally.
And I guess another thing, maybe we should start logging, like I was thinking of the calls that you take that used to go to the extension office at the provincial building. I mean, that's a download, but if you had a bit of a rough record on it, that might be another opportunity to ask for more money in a provincial grant. If you're, in addition to all this work you're doing with the acts, if you're also doing that information extension. Dave?
Question, how long has it been since we had a provincial building that had agriculture in it?
Well, James,
5 years?
yeah, it's been probably. So that's how long.
The ones that are voted in there, in their portfolio of agriculture, when they would have no record on what went on or how much it cost to have them.
No,
I think that'd be a wasted project to try to dig it up on.
no, I meant on our end, if you tracked how many calls you're handling for these ag questions.
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Even mentioned the provincial building. They went behind a closed door and then they didn't want to do it at all.
Because, I mean, there is a project, a pilot project in the works to bring back a hybrid version of what we had with partners of the government and ASB boards and private enterprise. And I thought for sure that would have been funded. Like the government only would have had to fund a portion, but it didn't make the list. So it hasn't taken off yet. But.
That was squashed pretty hard.
Yeah. So, and consequently, ASBs are doing it all on their own, pretty much. Okay, now go ahead, Quentin.
Yeah, so the resource management side, it's aimed to support the delivery of extension programming, so our workshops and demos. So we're supposed to show reduced degradation to agricultural land, long-term cost savings, reduced input, enhanced resiliency. So whether that's environmental farm plan awareness or increased producer access to provincial federal grants, which is usually tied together, improved farm maintenance and water and waste, whether it's human and or livestock, and improved knowledge on animal welfare, husbandry, farm innovation, increased interconnectivity in our farming community. So that's going to be something we're going to work on. As soon as the grant application hits our table, we start filling it out, but we've already got ideas that we can use. Biggest thing is hurry up and wait what we're going to receive for funding from the province.
So I think the writing is on the wall. It's not going to be an increase for next year, but.
I doubt it's an increase, and we've been at this level of funding for 5 years. Because before we were at about 110,000, I believe, or 115,000. I think it's only been 5 years we've been at this level, so I can't see it increasing anytime soon.
No.
They did say it was $13.5 million to be spread amongst 68 municipalities, which if it is even, that's 198,000 per municipality. So some are getting more than others, so we need to politely fight for more.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to get the top up.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything to add to that? Okay, no, then we'll ask for someone to receive that for information. Larry? All those in favor? And carried. Moving on to correspondence. The first one is Dutch elm disease, and on page 30. Is there anything different the county ASB board plans to do on this?
I think we'll just enhance our articles and notifications on the importance of Dutch elm disease and what can happen. Now that Edmonton's had 4 locations in their city, we need to make sure people are aware of the pruning times and what to do.
Okay. And then the other correspondence, anything we need to pull out?
There's 2 responses from the minister in there.
Okay. Okay, then we'll just review them.
Page 47.
7's the first one. I was quite impressed how detailed he made his response. Quite often you get a response, we'll look into it, but
Page 47 is Nihil's response they received from the Ministry of Agriculture regarding funding, which I think is one that should be read, and you're right, he does do a good job of not only timely, but it's good information.
and then the next one was ours, addressing the wild boar
Yes.
confinement regulations.
How did that go with the regional? Bring it up.
It wasn't
Wasn't there?
and it wasn't discussed regionally, other than in the list of 21 resolutions. One of the resolutions was on this, and they wanted to prioritize it because when you meet with a minister for half an hour or 3/4 of an hour, you can't get into discussing 21 resolutions. So they asked this time to prioritize it. The wild boar one didn't make the top 3. So it's not that it's not going to be discussed, but in that initial meeting with the minister. So that was basically the only mention of that resolution. Larry?
I guess on that though, we probably will have a chance to see the minister up at RMA.
Right.
So maybe we need to every time each of us see him, just tap the importance on just a lot more.
Yeah. But anyways, he did write a lengthy response to our letter here, so Justin?
Some of this response was a little bit frustrating. Although the minimum containment standards for Alberta wild boar farms are not explicitly mentioned in the APA or pest and nuisance control regulations, the legislation does provide for enforcement of these standards. And then it goes on to explain how they can issue a notice. And then the next paragraph is, however, not following the notice is not an offense and there's no punishment. So I'm a little curious what their definition of enforcement is, because asking nicely or sending a polite letter requesting something is not my definition of enforcement.
Andrew?
Can I just point out a nuance here, is that in the second paragraph on your screen right now, the minister describes the interpretation they take to allow a pest inspector to require someone to use the minimum containment standards. And then the next paragraph you're referring to where there's, it's not an offense not to comply with that. It is not an offense not to comply with the minimum containment standards in general, but it is an offense not to comply with Clinton's order to implement the minimum containment standards. So it's, you could get a ticket for not following a pest inspector's order, but until that order is in place, they're not technically required to use the minimum containment standard. In our case, they are.
And then we had another letter into the minister on the agriculture and mental health resources. So
something that was brought to my attention is that Agno is short a significant amount of money to continue. By significant, I mean like $650,000.
wow, because a lot of the ag boards did contribute some, but that would be a small.
We contributed 1,000.
A lot of them did, yeah.
Well, it takes 650 different people to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's not going to get it there. They need more funding from somewhere.
Because right now they just sent out an email that they're in effectively limp mode. They've scaled back lots of their programming to try and get through this period of shortfall on funding.
Right. So maybe in a future budget cycle, it'll be funded, but it's pretty slim right now.
Do we, Mr. Chair, would it be advantageous for us to send a letter to the Minister of Mental Health and Recovery, since they've split those out? They have their own ministry now and see the importance of not forgetting about rural Alberta, and then courtesy copying our other ag boards to say, hey, rural Alberta and agriculture producers also have some mental health issues as well.
Dan Williams, the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction, was CC'd in our letter about ag now. So do you want a separate letter?
I would think we almost direct it to him because, and so here's where I'm seeing this happening is that where's the funding coming from? They are putting it into 4 different streams. This will be his stream. I think it needs to be brought up to him. Right now, we would have our minister go over to his door and knock on his door and say, hey, here's a letter I got. Would you look at funding this? Where this is directed at him, like this is his portfolios.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably a good idea. Would you be prepared to make that into a motion?
I would make that a motion, absolutely. And I think it's important that we courtesy copy our MLA, absolutely. And courtesy copy, the ag minister, and also all our ASB counterparts as well. I think in that letter that we state that we understand where the direction that the current government is going, and this is a crossover of ministries, I guess, in a sense, right? So.
I think it makes good sense to direct the Minister of Mental Health for sure. Any other discussion? Not for motion, vote on all in favor of James' motion. Carried. And I guess you'll notice all the moisture maps are also included. It's interesting to see on most of these maps, the northern half of our county is still far below normal moisture. That's nothing new, is it, Paul?
No, sure not.
You already knew that before you seen the map.
You bet. Especially for our area, and I know even surrounding areas, it's below quite a bit, so.
Last weekend, we took a drive into the Camrose area, and I was really surprised how dry it looks there. The sloughs are dry, and there's no second growth anywhere in the fields. Where here, the fields had enough moisture to regrowth.
Are you bragging? Every 10 years you get.
Yeah, I know. So it does look much greener here than it does there. So,
Well, and especially down in your area, no, problem is you got it, but it got it a little late. That's the problem.
we had a little interruption in delivery in July, which kind of wrecked the little red wagon. But all in all, even late moisture is better than no moisture. So anything further we need to discuss out of correspondence? Not, Paul?
If not, I'll accept for information in these reports.
Great. All those in favor? And carried. Moving on to finance, a verbal report on our financial position.
Got that up. So, things look overall pretty good. We have a couple of over budgets, but we knew about that. Some of the high ones are the egg tank loader vandalisms, put us over budget. Demos, plots, and extension, I tie with my ASA line, so it looks like I'm over budget, but because I didn't use all the money out of the other line, we're still good. Yeah, overall, I'm sitting at 70% of my budget spent, and we're 80% through the year, a little better.
So you, any possibility of carrying forward a slight surplus, or do you think it'll all be used by the end of the year?
Out of the ones we use and would roll over, I'll have them used up. We have some fall workshops coming up that will use up some of that money, and roadside chemical isn't quite adjusted yet with inventories, so that's yet to come. There, yeah, we'll be pretty good. We'll be sitting good.
Sounds good. It's important not to be over budget. Budget. Any questions for Quentin on the financial end of it? No, James?
I'm going to get a motion to accept those for information.
Okay, all in favor? And carried. Moving on to 11.1, the Central Region ASB Conference recap. That was in Rumsey, October 17th. It's on page 67. Not all board members were able to make it, so we are bringing a recap to this meeting. It was a good meeting.
Turned down my sound there, but we'll turn it off, sure.
That's okay.
Sorry,
We'll forgive you for a round of beer.
usually I get it turned off, but
It's coming.
There you go. I thought the presentation by Al Hampton on the Starland seed plant was really quite a good one. Most people would have quit many times before that actually got done, but and being that he was with that plant for such a long time in various capacities, he shares a wealth of knowledge on that. And I think it would be an excellent idea if the Stettler seed plant had him come in for a talk, because I mean, for financial planning and that sort of thing, he could probably offer them cash flow, different things, a lot of good information. Dave?
Yeah, I found that on a seed plant fairly interesting. What was it, 2.4 million, they finally took out of reserves or out of their budget, the county did, to get that thing full. Because they tried to get it, tried not to get it. And what I found really interesting about that was that they have basically the same color sorter, windscreen, and our Carter dish is the same as the one we have in here, and it's from our LMR or whatever it is. That's what it is. So that new one, as our old one, has exactly the same cleaning thing. And I was surprised with what they planned for cleaning and stuff, but it took them forever and a day to get that thing.
Yeah.
But they did have problems with the other seed plant, which I'm not gonna go out into that.
Yeah.
But everybody, I think in the country knows what it was. We had a problem, got solved, and ours is up and running now, and they're gonna be all right if that new managers gets it done.
Mhm.
But along that, I was surprised the money that their company put into that.
Yeah, no,
But they finally had to get it up and running. We got only, would probably be the interest on that for 1 year, what we have.
but there's lessons to be learned on this, because their policy was to charge to break even all those years of the old plant. And then of course, when they had to either upgrade or build new, which made no sense to upgrade in the village, they had no money to do it. So lesson learned there. I mean, you can't maybe charge to break even because you need some money for upgrades.
Yeah, well, they did that, but they also had people there or something, they lost a bunch of money in that one too, and they never did recoup from it. We recouped from it, and this one's up and running.
But it is,
I think very easy.
yeah, it is a nice success story, especially, I mean, it's just like if anything could go wrong, it did. And then they were all ready to go when the pandemic hit and everything went up 25%, steel especially. I mean, it just was, if it wasn't one thing, it was another. But in the end, they definitely got it. And their first year is pretty successful, 700,000 bushel. And I'm sure they'll gain from there. So that was an interesting one. And I guess crop report from the province it's in, the yield is below the 5-year average, which again isn't too surprising.
I think there's a guy down here.
Ernie? Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to go back to say like with the roadside mowing that they're going to be doing, what is it, every 3 years? And I'm just kind of wondering, what is the beneficial effect of mowing 1 in 3 years of just grass? Because the following 2 years, it's not going to be mowed, so we're going to have height to it. I'm just kind of wondering, like, what is the benefit of mowing grass? For like from fence to fence in 1 out of 3 years?
I think it's to get ahead of trees. If they're only 3 years old, they can still drive them.
If you cut the trees down and you mow them, I can definitely see where the mowing and the spraying of the trees, but why the benefit of mowing 1 in every 3 years? I just look at this as being,
Affordability. If you mowed it every year, it would be very expensive.
but it is also why 1 in 3? Why even mow it?
so that the trees don't grow.
Okay, but I'm saying, okay, if you contact, okay, take care of just the trees, eliminate these sections of road that are just grass. Why? It'd be no difference than us going out and mowing all the ditches and spending the money for nothing to gain.
We have a weed spraying program that targets trees. Like if we see small trees in our ditch, every third year they get sprayed to keep them from getting too big. And
Yes, I can definitely see the trees. It is definitely. But what, to go out and mow some of these ditches, I got drive along Highway 12 here and some of it just grass.
yeah, I see what you're saying going there. And in Highway 12, a lot of the off years farmers hay the ditches there, so they kind of keep the trees at bay as well. Dave, did you have something to add?
You're talking about provincial.
Here.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do them every year.
It's budget. It is
Wow.
budget.
You never have, pretty soon you have no trees.
The trees are totally separate of the grass. I'm just looking at mowing the grass.
Well, some of
What's the
this
benefit?
south here, the grass are pretty high beside there, they run over what, from 10 miles it takes me to come into town?
Okay, but I can see it in the first year. But why? So then the grass grows in the second and the
Oh, I
third
know,
year.
I know.
So
I think
why?
I think you should mow it every year.
Yeah, you come up with the money, no problem at all.
Well, it's not my budget, their budget. Because what we killed, I got 9 deer, 2 moose, in 10 miles this year.
Those are generally taller than what the grass is in the ditch. I can see definitely mowing the shoulders, but I definitely do not see, say, like from the bottom of the ditch to the back slope. It's an absolute waste of money.
Okay,
And
Quentin?
I don't know, that's sort of their problem, and
Yeah.
I think their planned budget is to do a shoulder mow every year. And then a full right of way every third year, and it's for vegetation control to remove brush, get rid of unwanted vegetation.
I can definitely see the brush side, but the grass side, I can't see it.
It helps with weed control. I see a pretty good benefit in it. I would do that here if we had the money. And if I was in charge of roadside mowing, I'm not, but I see a huge benefit in it as far as controlling your right of way.
And lots of times you don't see those little trees in the grass when they're really small, if you're just targeting tree mowing. So if you do the whole ditch, you get them all. So, but the thing is, their budgets fluctuate so much year to year too. In the transportation department, they never know what their budget's going to be. So sometimes maybe that 3-year program might even get stretched because, I guess if they're short of money, they've got to take it from somewhere, and every department may get hit. And I guess mowing and crack filling is easy, low-hanging fruit, though. I think nobody's going to die if you don't mow the ditch or crack fill the cracks. So some of these budgets get trimmed pretty good. So. But then that's being said, this year they even got a little more money than usual, so they're able to do a bit more. So it was a win a little bit. Any other questions from the report?
There's one of Andrew pop up. You spoke a little bit to the resolutions. So the paper we submitted to everybody to fill out, there was 21 resolutions. The provincial committee has time to speak roughly for 3 with the minister, so they wanted people to vote. And your winners are Richardson ground squirrel, vet shortage, and vegetation on highways. But here's how the voting was across the board on who was at the conference. So Richardson ground squirrel got 10 votes. Wild boar got 3. Farm mental health got 4. You can see how it is, but that's how the crowd ranked.
Interesting that farm mental health and Water Act concerns were neck and neck. That's interesting. Water is very important, so that shows you how important farm mental health is too, as well. Just observation more than anything.
One thing that's hard to tell is actually don't know how many attended the regional conference to tell you how many votes this was of the crowd.
And they also, we made a note in the report that the report card on the resolutions, the wording has changed because it was a little on the confusing side and people didn't know how to interpret the wording for the ranking. So it's much clearer now, I think. Ernie?
And very interesting, say like on the live horse slaughter, like it's kind of mediocre. It's not going to be until they shut it down. Then there's going to be a hell of a problem, just like the Richard Brown squirrel.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one. It is before the Senate. It's hope that it doesn't go through under this government. A change of government may bring around changes in this. But the biggest thing about this one is, could it be the beginning of the end? If you can stop the slaughter of horses, can you stop the slaughter of beef, of hogs, of turkeys? I mean, where does it end? So.
Glad you didn't put the other one in. One time, I'm glad not to be part of that conversation.
Well, I can include you if you wish.
No, that's okay.
So that's what alarms the ag industry a lot, even if you're not raising horses for meat. It could affect everyone. It's just one step at a time.
Most, and I will say most ag people consider their horses separate than their cows. It's just different dealing with them. So this one is an anomaly in that sense because, yeah, you talk to many ranchers, their horse is a tool, and many ranchers, it is could be their best friend in some ways.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Yeah, that one is slightly different, and it's quite cultural. I mean, certain cultures don't eat horse meat, certain do, so it is quite cultural. But the thing is, it's stopping them from being flown for slaughter. You can still fly horses if you want to fly them for show jumping or breeding stock. But if you fly them somewhere where they could be slaughtered, then of course that's illegal, or will be, which. To me, it's a little overreach, I think, but Ernie?
So somehow you've got to incorporate these horses that are going to go over for show jump.
And then you get the public outcry the other way and, yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't see many percherons show jumping.
Yeah.
Maybe we should start one.
It's a lot of math to get up and over those two poles.
Short ones, little jump.
Yeah. So was there
I kind of resemble that horse, I'm just saying.
anything else to discuss out of that conference, Ernie?
Raccoons, are they really a problem? Or are they?
Yes, they're an awful pest.
They are, but we don't even have any here, do we?
Raccoons?
Oh, if you don't think you have raccoons, you're in trouble. You're the problem.
The coon.
We
We
do.
have a farm in our area with about 5 of them.
I thought they were illegal. Damn it.
Yeah, they are illegal to farm. Well, maybe with a special permit, I don't know.
Yeah. Dave?
They've been here for years. The raccoons have been, down even in the desert, Indiana here. Paul Paulson run over one and then shot one and then they sort of, he must have been a parrot because he never had it.
Yeah.
Just last week, when I just crossed the river, up on the hill on Kennedy Crossing, that.
Yeah, they've been around.
Back up, no.
The numbers have been fairly small in the past, but yeah, they've been there. And did you have something to add?
They're quite a pest because they do a lot of damage
Yeah, it's hard to keep
Quite a pest.
and hard
Yeah.
to get rid of.
I have not visually seen one here, but there's been signs on different.
Neighbors got them on the trail cams in the yard because, of course, they won't leave the cat food alone, so you got to quit feeding the cat outside and all that. Can't dump like if you're dumping potato peelings or whatever outside, they'll go through them, so you got to quit that. You got to bag all of them. you want them to move on, so. Okay, there's no further discussion on that report. We'll ask for a mover for it. Paul?
I'll move to receive it again.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? And carried. Conferences, provincial ASB coming up January 20th to 22nd in Edmonton. And do you have everything you need from the board on that for attendance and stuff?
Yeah. As it gets closer to, I will ask for those requiring extra banquet tickets. Registration is not out, so you have time to mull it over and go from there.
Okay. And then I think we'll just move into your workshop event list, and they're all there.
Yeah, so environmental farm plan workbook session. That's where producers come in and we go through the workbook with them and kind of help them out with a few questions, and they go home and finish it if they don't finish with us. Farm emergency plan workbook. So the workbook that was presented last fall, this spring maybe, we'll have a workshop and help ratepayers or producers fill out their workbook. We will have a booth at the Stettler Bull Congress, cultivating good health in ag. So a mental health workshop in Big Valley. It's planned for January 14. And then Toso Bozic will be coming for our tree planting workshop February 12 in Botha. Ladies Livestock Clinic, always a big hit, February 27 in Rumsey. That's our Tri-County Starland Special Areas Stettler workshop. And then County Fair and Bench Show, July 29 and August 2. Those are the ones that are planned as of now. Others we're working on but don't have speakers lined up or a date confirmed yet. So there's more in the works.
No, good lineup there. Could I get someone to receive your information, conferences and workshops and events altogether? Jane or Justin?
I'll move those, that we receive them for information.
Sorry, Justin. All those in favor? And carried.
You've been called worse by better?
In camera, 14.1, the agriculture pest update under section 20. Need someone to move us in camera. Paul?
I'll move us in.
All in favor? Carried. I guess that was at So, and our delegation here, or not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. Should we watch the video or?
We can start it.
We can start the video. Yeah, okay, we'll do the video then, and if he should come, we can pause it, but, popcorn?
Pardon? Or someone's chips.
Is 150 meters from any neighboring residences.
Getting.
We're going to have a big screen, big screen, and turn the lights down.
I guess soil erosion as an issue has been an ongoing one that we've had across Alberta, dating back to the beginning of farming in the area.
It's a combination of multiple factors. Some of it can be in rotation of different crops. Some of it can be the type of winter we're having. You know, if we have that freeze-thaw cycle, if we have no snow cover, if we're dry going into the fall, there's a lot of factors that come into play.
Most of the time we use extension or education as a first step on dealing with soil erosion, because it's difficult to stop soil erosion as it's happening. It's a lot easier and economical to prevent soil erosion from happening.
For us, it's pretty important that the soil doesn't blow. Like, we grow potatoes in a fully no-till grain rotation, so potatoes is the only crop that requires tillage because the potatoes need mellow soil so we can actually dig them. We're trying to incorporate the cover crops as much as we can with the potatoes. Right now, the cover crops mainly consist about fall crops like winter wheat right after the potatoes, or a barley crop before the potatoes that dies off with the frost, so that we don't use any chemical application to terminate the crop. The nice thing about that is that we incorporate all that straw into the hills next to it, which gives us really nice aerated hills, which is actually a benefit for the potatoes. The struggle that we would have is if we had a really wet spring and we had a really tall cover crop in the fall, is to rototill that in. That's something we might run into. That could be a challenge.
What we have here is we have hybrid fall rye and winter wheat. We use them both for winter cereals to protect the land over our winters. Hybrid fall rye produces a lot more cover. It's more vigorous. It can grow when it's a little bit even cooler. Just to see, these are seeded on the same date, and we got this is on my left here. This would be hybrid fall rye, one seed, and this would be winter wheat. So we're looking at almost double the growth. Hybrid fall rye, you seed at half the rate. So I guess advantages on the winter wheat side is that we're actually getting more plants, but they're not as big.
Something that I've noticed over the last couple of years that we've implemented these cover crops, that because all that organic matter is in the dirt, the hills hold the moisture better. And if you got more moisture in your hill, the temperature seems to be more consistent and the canopy closes faster. The benefit of that is a more even product.
Increasing soil organic matter from 1 to 3% reduces that soil's erodibility by 20 to 30%. It helps as a glue between soil particles. So it really comes down to water holding capacity. If the soil can hold more water, it's stronger and less susceptible to winter erosion.
In the last few years, like, we had a lot of winters with lots of temperature swings with the freeze-thaw cycles and make the ground really mellow and prone to blowing. A lot of us have implemented cover crops in various ways. Like, people have seeded it before crop was harvested. People have seeded it right after, have seeded it in between the swaths. I think big steps have been made in the last few years.
Cover crops work really well when we're doing dry beans and we're harvesting early, or potatoes and we're harvesting early. But once we're harvesting into October, cover crops can't be used anymore. We have to rely on other methods to control our land. And mostly that is ripping. So we'll rip the land deep, aggressively, and try to make lumps that will dry and will last all winter.
Some of the specialty crops are a little more difficult. They're very long season crops. The crop starts early in the spring. You're seeding in mid-April or late April, but some of our harvest doesn't get off till almost November. And for example, sugar beet, there's no stubble. It is pure dirt, and a lot of times we're harvesting in the snow and we can't put a cover crop in to get established to give us a little protection.
Another technique that we use during the season, it's a process called dammer diking, which is reservoir tillage. It's a machine that goes in between the hills and it rips up the compacted dirt in between the hills, makes pockets in between the hills that prevent the water from running down. That is not just rainwater, like for heavy storms, but also irrigation. We try to use our tillage in our advantage too. Like right after planting, we come back and we try to make nice and smooth hills which crust up. But if we make it nice and crusty, then the winds can get a grip on the hills, and those crusted up hills will barely ever blow.
It can be challenging if you work the land and all of a sudden you get some rain and a frost mixed together, freezing rain. Water will go into the lumps, shatter the lumps. We're left with powder. Winter comes after that. there's not much we can do?
Another technique that we use is very basic. We make all our hills in the north-south direction, so they're in the opposite direction of the wind.
It's just kind of using what you have and to help combat it, yeah.
The biggest area we see soil erosion now is on irrigated fields on specialty crops, potatoes, sugar beets, things like that. There's not a lot left in the soil, so those are the ones we're seeing that are blowing primarily from November until early spring into March is where we get most of our soil erosion events.
So generally speaking, when we're talking about soil erosion, we look at an acceptable amount. There's always going to be a little bit of soil movement. It's being driven by several different factors: the topography, the soil aggregatability, the land cover, the practices being committed on the land, and of course, weather intensity. So wind erosion, high wind speeds causing soil particles to start tumbling. Eventually, they start bouncing as wind speeds increase, and then eventually they become like in an aerosol, so particles being carried away. We try to keep that loss to a very minimum. We're looking at less than 5 tons per acre per year, which is 0.03 of an inch. But we have to break up that wind speed. And basically, a 30-mile-per-hour wind is 3 times more erosive than a 20-mile-per-hour wind. As wind speed increases, the impacts of it increases exponentially.
So,
Wow.
Sorry, guys, it's really short. We've got Dr. Nicholas here.
Okay.
Where do you want me sitting? Oh, standing. Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I went to the town.
You guys probably hate that. Okay, well, welcome, glad you made it. We're going to do introductions before we start, so you know who you're speaking with, and I'll just start with Farah.
So Farah Fisher, Assistant Manager of Agricultural Services.
Ernie Gender, board member, good morning. Paul McKay, board member.
Justin Stevens, good morning.
Les Stolberg, board chair.
James Nyberg, board member.
Nikki Thorstensen, Communications.
Clinton Beaumont, Manager of Agriculture Operations.
Rishik, Director of Municipal Services.
Well, so I guess I'd never go by doctor, but Dr. Colin Nicholas, born and raised in Calgary, living in Delburn now, 2018 UCVM grad, so University of Calgary. So I've been getting involved in county things now, kind of happenstance, doing a C-section for a client that's wife was on a council, and realized that the vets should be talking to you guys. You guys have there's a lot of spilled ink on vet shortages, and the ABVMA is doing their thing, counties are doing their things, provinces doing their things. So part of my drive is to just open the dialogue. So you guys have my email or have vets emails. So if you want to just run something by the ABVMA, you now know how to get a hold of someone. So as to speak a bit, just to start the discussion on the vet shortage, and my perspective on it and some of the work I've been doing on it. So I'll start with that. Any questions at all, feel free to jump in. I thought a way to go about it would be to just kind of walk through how I landed in Stettler County and how I've seen Stettler County change since 2018. So I graduated, the UCVM has you placed out into different clinics in 4th year. So some people interface with counties that way. I started working in Ponoka, wanting to do cattle medicine, worked 3 months, and the reason I'm here is that I found the job posting at the right time. So that works, ABVMA works, but as far as like, how do we get more here? It's not the most efficient system. Why I want to do cattle medicine is just unique to me. I like cows, I like farmers, I like working with both. But some of it, the thing that flipped the switch was cutting deads at Nameka feedlot in 2nd year vet school. And I don't think there's enough of that for vet students. And that's one of my big driving things is we need to get people, vet students, kids that want to be vets, undergrad students from counties interfacing with vets in counties or from cities out into the counties as well. As far as the vet shortage goes, when I graduated 2018, there was Jeff in Forestburg. There was multiple vets Coronation Way, like Consort. Sedgwick was fairly well staffed. Stettler Vet Clinic had, I believe, 5 or 6 vets in 2018. And we've lost vets that interface with Stettler County. There's probably been a 50% reduction. So if you go from Drumheller up to Sedgwick, like able to drive into Stettler County or living in or regularly practicing in, you've lost probably 6 to 8 vets, and added myself, Dr. Rainforth, and then 1 or 2 vets at Stettler Vet Clinic that one's on a mat leave, and I don't know where that's at currently. So it's been a sharp reduction with no real foreseeable improvement, I would say, in the future. So yeah, that's where I'm coming in. So I shared with
all the vets going that are graduating. So you will have a graduating class this year.
50 this year. So part of it is there's a definitely consolidation along Highway 2. So Lacombe Vet Center, I'm talking with them about some other things. They don't have a staffing issue. They have applicants regularly. If you go to Airdrie, Veterinary Agri Health Services is the big clinic there. They're hiring now, but they have like 6 or 7 vets. So some of it is going to the city centers. Some of it is that the numbers just don't quite math some of the time. So in 2021, the ABVMA, like my licensing board, did a study for how many vets would need to be added into the supply to maintain supply and meet population growth, and you would have had to graduate 120 per year from 2021 till 2040, and they graduated 30 for 4 of those years, and they're going to graduate 50 for 4 more, and now they're getting to 100, which doesn't even meet the 120 that they need. So some of it's just a number issue.
So funding at the university level is going to be what the big
some of it. Yeah, there's definitely some of that, getting foreign trained vets and getting them trained in vets, utilizing techs more, which is things that ABVMA is driving for, but there is somewhat just a numbers issue that is a provincial funding problem that I don't know if we'll solve that here, but things get driven up the chain the more you start ground root or like down low things.
So previously, in Saskatchewan, how many are they graduating?
They're graduating now. They've jumped the numbers about 100, but as an Alberta student, they changed the funding model. So if you want to go as an Alberta student, you're classified in the foreign pool. So they get like 5 to 10, and it costs them about $70,000 a year. So you are getting some, but they're competing with everyone that wants to be a vet. So I'll back up slightly. We used to fund as Alberta 20 seats for Saskatchewan and 30 for Alberta, and then to save money or something, to increase opportunity, it saved $2 million in budget. So my view is it saved some money. They shifted the seat funding and fully pulled it from Saskatchewan. So there could be opportunity to get back in there. They would probably happily take money to get 20 more Alberta dedicated seats. But some of it is those 100, how many come to Alberta? You'd need to know that. And I don't think anyone's actually looked at that.
Okay, so do you know in Saskatchewan, so we talked about Alberta needing 130 vets go forward. Do they know the similar?
I haven't seen that. Yeah.
It'd be interesting if they only needed 80 and they're graduating 100.
Yeah.
Or is there a surplus? And that's the question I would like.
100 is for all of Western Canada.
Okay.
100 per year to meet BC, Alberta, or not Alberta anymore, but BC, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. And so there, I would, if you were to ask me to bet, I would bet they're not graduating.
That answers my question.
Yeah, yeah. So with Lacombe County, we had a similar meeting with another vet, and we came up with some proposals of varying costs for sure. One of the things I want to start is cheap or free things, because that's easy. If it takes someone's legwork to do that's already a hired staff member, someone sending emails, writing reports, I think that is a really easy start. And then the other thing are some really cost-effective kind of tacking on to current procedures that are out there. So the cheaper free things, I think that every rural county needs to have a billeting system for professionals. We've started that in Lacombe. They have about 5 to 8 families that are willing to take vet students in. And I think that is free. If you make a list, when the vet student comes, the last vet student that came stayed in Dr. Ben Schultz's basement with Ben's wife. Stayed for 2 weeks, probably never stepped foot in Stettler, didn't step foot in the curling rink, get her in one of your farmhouses or a house in town or something. And get that list out to vet practices as both new grads and as vet students. Use it for doctors, use it for dentists, use it for paramedics. Like create a list of like, hey, if you land here, here's the places that are friendly that you can stay at, and you'll get cooked dinner and a nice shower.
What? A free place and friendly. It's one or the other.
Yeah. But even decrease. So when I was in vet school, when I stayed in Peace River, I found something on Kijiji and I emailed it and I paid whatever the price was because there were two options and one of them looked sketchy. So I paid like $750 for the month, which is pretty, it was a room and it was a month rent. But if you had the vet practices had a list of people that they can go through, because we're out there, we kind of know, and you guys can kind of shuttle a name off that you kind of know that one doesn't make it to the billeting list, but a lot of them do. And so Lacombe County has worked on that. I think that is like, so I guess the other side, I'm going to Sedgwick on Monday to go do some locum work just to support their vacation. I'm staying in a work trailer. Like, do I want to move to Sedgwick after staying in a work trailer for a week? No. If I stayed in someone's basement suite and hung out with their dogs and stuff, and my wife could come with our dogs, you might entice me to Sedgwick hypothetically. But in the work trailer where
just so you know.
Yeah, I know. I'm living in Delbert and I like it there. But like that's the point is they hit someone hit Sedgwick, and I'm just looking to get back home for the whole week. It's not a nice, comfortable stay with my wife and kids. I'm like, I want out of here, but the money's good and you need help for a vacation, so I can help you. But like a billeting system, that's my like big thing right now because it's just so free. It's so free and easy. Other things that I think, like you guys already have the Stettler bucks. I think when a professional hits Stettler, they should get $100 of Stettler bucks to use in restaurants. Like say, hey, come hang out in Stettler. Here's $100 investment. It's a lot less than the like 70,000 for doctors that we're advertising out there. But even for doctors, they hit here as a new grad or as a med student, $100 of Stettler bucks. Like it's paper. It's $100 for your total budget. That's a system you have that I would just bunch on and start using it for professionals that are of a shortage. So doctors, dentists, vets, like whoever you care about, make your list, cut lawyers off. We chatted about that. Don't want lawyers, don't want more lawyers. Maybe you do. And if you can use that same idea for things like the gym, the curling clubs, this like you pay for their membership for the month they're here and they go, oh crap, like Stettler's a great rec center that I might not have seen otherwise. That $100 investment, like I bet you could get some feedlots to buy it for him. Some vet clients that, hey, put $100 towards a student, and people would happily invest in that. And then like a lot of my things are just for those type of ideas on the free things is get them into the town, get them living in the town, interfacing with the town. And then when they leave, they actually have a good feeling about Stettler. And if you capture one of 100 students you got to come back and work in Stettler, even for a year, you had a year of vet services you didn't otherwise have. The other initiative, and I'll kind of share this one and then you guys can look through the document kind of on your own, but the other one that Lacombe County is doing is there's currently a grant to go work in the north. So if you go work in the north, you apply as a vet student. If you return to the north after graduating, you don't have to pay the grant back. So it's $7,000 a year. Lacombe County is proposing that they expand that grant to all rural settings. And one way that it could work well is that there's already a document discussing how rural you are for doctor shortage issues. So making a cutoff line in that or similar for if you are this point in the ruralness scale, I guess, then you can get access to this grant. So if you want to go to Stettler, Coronation, like you guys are fairly high on it in Stettler County and East. So they've proposed that. They're getting that escalated up through the provincial government. So that might hit some of your Ag Service Board members' plates as something that's happening. I've chatted with Nate Horner or sent an email to his staff about it, and they'll do what they do with it. But that's also quite affordable. Like really, the Alberta government budget at paying for 10 vet students $7,000 a year to get them out here, like awesome.
That resolution proposal came up at our Central Region ASB meeting in Rumsey last week, and Stettler County actually seconded that one, and it passed, so it will go forward to our provincial conference in Edmonton as a resolution.
Awesome.
It passed with 100%.
Well, it's like stuff like that.
Always somebody that offshoots.
Yeah, like stuff like that to me is the way we spend provincial money. That's a really good way to spend provincial money, is getting vet students out into counties and living there for the summers. They also were throwing around within their county, getting some sort of funding for once a vet student, like vet students don't make any money. They're a waste of cash. So you have to pay them something. Sometimes you get drug funding money, sometimes you don't. But having a grant of some sort to get, like, pay for vet students for vet clinics, again, to get them out there. So you're going to go work when you're gone, but where do you work? These vet clinics that you were able to get summer jobs at. And the vet clinic can now hire you to not provide value for the summer because there's some sort, or even decreased cost. Like, a lot of vet practice is higher because it's a good, like, hiring practice, hiring pipeline, but having it as something that we can do to get them out more, the more we can get vet students out there and undergrad students, the better your chances of capturing someone. So yeah, look through the rest of the document. I don't know if I sent the one with the watermark, but Justin does have my email and my personal cell. So anything you guys want to chat about, any questions on this, if you want my thoughts at the Edmonton meeting, if anyone has questions on that proposal, like, I'm happy to either be there or get an ABVMA rep there, or get Dr. Lawson, who is at Lacombe County, just someone to represent, because, like, we want to, the vet industry sees the issues, and I am now just taking it upon myself to solve them solo. But it is something that, like, if a vet presence would be useful or CC'd on an email, CC me on an email. Happy to chat.
Have you been in contact with our provincial vet?
Not about these issues. I'm kind of working from the bottom up, so I probably should loop him in on all my shenanigans.
Provide you with that information.
Yep.
You know where he lives if you want to go.
I've talked to him about lead cases, so I know of him, but not about vet shortage problems. So it's something that I like. Probably at this point, just talking to multiple counties, things escalating to the provincial level, is probably a time to start looping him in on my various shenanigans.
How do you feel about sheep?
Neutral. Depends on the guy, depends on the sheep.
Ernie, and then.
Yeah, so my success rate, I worked in New Zealand for summer. My success rate was sheep was 33%. So if you hear that and you don't mind,
really good.
You don't mind 66% dying.
You're a sheep vet, you didn't know it.
67% dying when I touch them, then give me a ring, I guess.
Ernie, then Justin.
The educational side, they're in school for what?
It was 8 years, minimum 6.
8 or 6 years. So like, what is it, 10 months of the year?
Yep. 8.
8.
Yep.
Then they're looking to get out into practicing vet for the other 4 months of the year then.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So you're in kind of 7.5, because you're in late August until the very end of April, and then you're looking to find something for the summers. A lot of them get like drug company something or some study because there's a grant somewhere. So between my first and second year, I was a research assistant for Merck Animal Health, which meant I went and picked up cow shit and put it in Ziploc bags. But the drug company paid for it, so the vet clinic could afford it. Yes, 8 months-ish. And for 2 summers, for UCBM students, they're available.
Another avenue we've tried with different organizations, like Ambulance does this, rather than trying to attract urban people to take up a rural setting, offer up a scholarship for any locals interested in going this route. And it obviously won't yield any immediate results, but there has been a lot of success even when you talk to doctors. If you, healthcare professionals in general, if you can train people that have roots to the community already, it's a lot easier to keep them here than to attract someone that's only ever lived in Calgary.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm an anomaly. I'm a one in multiple hundreds to be a primary Cal vet living in Delburn from Calgary. So I'm all for those type of proposals. The big thing is just selecting how you find those students that are going to drive for it, because you guys don't really want to pay for someone to go get really drunk all the time and at the den in Calgary. And so like I do agree. I think finding the students that are going to push for vet med and making it so when they get there, they can study, that's huge. And showing their support for the community makes them come back. So I'm all for those types of things too.
Are you missing the Calgary traffic?
No, I hit cross iron and I just want to leave. Parents are still in Calgary. I hate it so much when I get back there.
Yeah.
I go back once every 2 months probably now. It used to be more, but now I happily live in Delburn. Even the Stettler traffic pisses me off. Delburn traffic any day. Yeah. When you hit the stoplight here, you're like, stoplights. Give me traffic circles and stop signs all day.
Yeah, you really are, bro.
Yeah.
There's some property in Bymore, isn't it?
It's a bit far. My wife likes Delburn. She likes being a bit closer to Red Deer if she can.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it works.
Well, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. I mean, I think the community should be very proud of what you're doing, because it is a very, very much needed, and it does. That's what happens. It just needs somebody to grab it by the horns and go with it. So good on you.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, grab Justin for the rest of the kind of proposals. I tried to catalog them from free to stupid expensive, but you have my email. I might take some time to get back to you because my life is a mess right now. You have my email. I'm happy to engage if you guys, even the vet students, if you want to just run by, like, we're making this proposal for scholarship things. How does this work? I got into vet school and I know how to game a system, and I know how people that want to get into vet school will game a system. So if you show me something, I can tell you how it will be gamed or not gamed. So let me know as proposals come across. I'm happy to come talk again, come send an email, chat on the phone. I have a lot of time behind the wheel. Happy to chat while driving too. So keep me in the loop.
Thank you for sharing this today. It's awesome. And I'm sure you'll be asked for some more input down the road. And yeah.
I'm good. I don't have anything till 1.
We have lunch. So you're welcome. And we can chat further through lunch.
Yeah, sure. And then I did bring some of my proposals if any of you want.
Okay, sure.
Paper copy, and then just recycle them, you know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thanks again, Dr. Nicholas. We'll finish our meeting here. We got the next meeting date is November 27th at 10 a.m. And we need an adjournment motion. Ernie? All those in favor? And carried.